from RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Developments on healthcare this week, both on Capitol Hill and right here in Indiana. Tens of thousands of people are now searching for new health insurance in the Hoosier state. Half of the providers are pulling out of the marketplace for 2018. And we should learn more about the impact of the recently unveiled Senate GOP plan, the Better Care Reconciliation Act of 2017. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office is aiming to release its score for the plan in the coming days. The CBO found the number of uninsured would jump to 23 million people by 2026 under the House plan. Here are a few details from the more than 140-page bill. The bill eliminates the requirement for Americans to have insurance, and it gets rid of penalties for a lapse in coverage. Children could continue to stay on their parents' insurance through the age of 26. The bill phases out funding for more than 30 states' Medicaid expansions beginning in 2020. Supporters say it would mean more money for low-income families to buy insurance, but Democrats argue it would take away coverage for many and raise out-of-pocket costs. We're hearing from Indiana's senators on the health proposal. Republican Todd Young says he hasn't made up his mind on the bill yet, but Young also believes something has to be done soon to stabilize the market.
Premiums have skyrocketed, deductibles have gone up, copays have gone up. We have 70 million Americans who live in an area where there's either a choice of zero or one health insurer. So that's really not a choice at all. And it's no wonder that when you have very few insurers in the market, there's no competition and costs go up.
Indiana's Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly, on the other hand, says he will fight the Republican health care bill. Donnelly voted for the Affordable Care Act, but has long said the law should be addressed in a bipartisan way. The Democrat says the GOP's bill is not that solution.
This is real life. This is health care for Hoosiers. We need to talk to doctors. We need to talk to patients who are on the front lines of how to make health care better. And as we look at this, the last health care bill that was passed by the House took health care away from over 400,000 Hoosiers. You know, rule number one is do no harm. Well, they did staggering amounts of harm.
Democrats in the Senate are expected to unanimously oppose the bill, so its future will come down to a handful of Republicans. The GOP can only afford to lose 2 votes of senators. The bill as written could mean major changes for Indiana's HIP 2.0 program. The proposal phases down the federal match for the state's Medicaid expansion from 90% to 75% by 2023. Lawmakers would need to take legislative action in order to keep HIP 2.0 in place, and the state would be on the hook to pick up a bigger portion of the cost for more than 420,000 Hoosiers. I asked House Speaker Brian Bosma what he sees for the future of the program.
We're still waiting to see, and even our own congressional delegation doesn't really have every detail yet. So we're hopeful that we can continue the program, reasonably funded in some fashion, and that's our goal.
What would you tell the people right now who rely on it or sitting at home wondering, waiting, what they should do?
Well, we all need to be patient. We worked through this once before when the program was created. We worked with it once before when the HIP program was created in 2008 or 10, and we'll work through this issue as well. Our goal is to serve as many Hoosiers as possible, especially the low-income Hoosiers, and to be sure everyone has access to decent health care.
People in Indiana who are covered by a plan in the marketplace will have fewer choices for 2018. Anthem and MedWise announced they're exiting the marketplace in Indiana at the end of the year. The 2 remaining providers are requesting rate increases, one as high as 24%. Analysts say you can expect fewer plan options and fewer in-network providers if you intend to stick with coverage through the marketplace next year. A Greenwood woman is trying to figure out the next steps for her family as her husband battles stage 4 cancer.
I'm not quite sure at this point what we'll do. And I know that people say, oh, don't worry, there'll be other options. But what options? I feel like we're a pawn in a political game.
Governor Holcomb also talking about those companies leaving the Indiana exchange. Even though he has not committed to supporting the Senate's health bill, he says the news about Anthem and MedWise shows that something has to change. The governor issuing a statement saying this underscores the need for reform, and Indiana is poised to lead the way if given the flexibility and time to tailor the best solutions to meet the needs of our people. Vice President Mike Pence previously said health care reform would be President Trump's North Star. The former Indiana governor again made a push for reform on Thursday, and he made a big promise.
That the people that gave us Obamacare have refused to even lift a finger to fix and to clean up the mess that they created. But we're moving forward. And this president and I remain determined that we'll repeal and replace Obamacare before this summer's out. I mean, this is the moment. Now is the time.
Passing the bill could prove to be a tall task for the Senate. 4 Senate conservatives say they cannot support the measure. By the numbers, Republicans can again only afford 2 no votes from their party, assuming all Democrats oppose the bill. This week, President Trump confirmed he does not have tapes of the conversations with fired FBI Director James Comey. The president sent out 2 tweets on Thursday saying he has no idea if there are recordings, and he doesn't have any. This statement comes after Trump tweeted last month that Comey better hope there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. You'll remember Comey told the Senate Intelligence Committee, "Lordy, I hope there are tapes." Up next, our insiders weigh in on what's ahead for health care and the political implications for Indiana's congressional delegation. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're joined by our insiders right now. We have Adam Kirsch with us, also WIBC State House Bureau Chief Eric Berman. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Katie, thanks for having me.
What role will healthcare play in the 2018 Indiana Senate race?
A huge one. I mean, there's no denying it. You've got battle lines drawn. The Republicans are already taking shots at Joe Donnelly for voting for it in the first place. Back when it passed originally, Joe Donnelly is arguing, look, the bill that you're putting together raises a lot of concerns, and the way it's being put together raises a lot of concerns. There's no question this is going to be front and center. It was front and center in the Young race last year, and it will be again. Which way it cuts, a long way from telling that, but it's definitely going to be, if not the key issue, certainly one of the top ones.
Well, let's be clear. Republicans tried to campaign against Joe Donnelly last time on health care, and he still won. I think he will do so again this year because the Republican plan is just bad. It's mean, as President Trump said. It kicks 314,000 Hoosiers off health care. It'll raise premiums by $2,400 in Indiana alone.
What do you think the political implications are for the 2 Republicans we expect to get into that race that have not yet announced?
Well, I mean, they're carving out different positions for themselves in this race. Todd Rokita has been a down-the-line Donald Trump supporter in his public statements since the president took office. Luke Messer's been more measured, hasn't been as out there. And so by the time, assuming the 2 of them both get in, which is a safe but not certain assumption, you know, we'll see where the president's ratings are come May with the primary and come November with the general election. And, you know, it's a calculated risk, I think, on both their parts, sort of scoping out where the playing field is. I don't know how that necessarily plays out, but you've got a president who at the moment is underwater in the polls. He could be doing better, could be doing much worse by May. And so it's a chance that they take.
What do you think the prospects are for this bill in the Senate?
I think it's a tough road. They can lose 2 Republican senators right now. I think there's 4 that are saying they're not willing to vote for it as is, but obviously there'll be amendments and things. The concern is that the way the Republicans are doing it behind closed doors, they refuse to submit amendments for 72 hours in a Congressional Budget Office score. They're going to do whatever it takes to pass something, no matter how bad the bill is.
Do you agree with the assessment that Democrats have, quote, not lifted a finger?
I don't agree with the assessment at all. Democrats said, come to the table, let's fix the things, the Affordable Care Act, that need fixing, instead of throwing it all out and starting over, which is what the Republicans have insisted on doing.
You know, one of those 4 senators has already come out against this. Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has basically said, nobody told me anything about this. This is done behind closed doors. I can't support a bill that's been put together in that way. So that's one vote that hinges on the process and maybe comes up with through amendments. Maybe if they get some amendments in there, that changes votes. But you've got, in addition to the 4 who've come forward, you've got Susan Collins, you've got Lisa Murkowski, you've got that handful of centrist Republicans. There's still a few of those in the Senate. They may end up shedding more than 4. I mean, you know, never bet against Mitch McConnell, never bet against a party trying to deliver a victory for a president of their own party. But they definitely have a tough road to hoe next week.
We haven't seen Senator Todd Young yet state where he stands. He says he's still considering this. If you're a Republican, what do you need to think about politically here?
Think about when you're up for re-election next, for starters. You think you vote your district. I think that's kind of standard practice. This is a bill, or at least the House bill, I should say, has not been popular anywhere. You know, there's not a lot of support for it. The Affordable Care Act was never so popular as when people started trying to take it apart. And that's something that Senator Young looks at. You look at, okay, is this the final bill that I can live with, or are we keeping the ball moving? Are you keeping the process moving forward? It's a tough vote. I would assume that he is more likely than some to vote for it. His statement to us during the week was, I hope to get to yes, but he's keeping his options open.
I'd be shocked if Todd Young doesn't vote for it. Todd talks a lot about being bipartisan, but he's been a pretty doctrinal Republican senator and congressman.
How do the governor, how do state lawmakers navigate the road ahead, given what we learned about half of the providers pulling out of the marketplace, also potential impact to HIP 2.0?
Well, they've got the advantage that they don't have to actually vote on it one way or the other. They just have to deal with the consequences one way or the other. I think it's significant that the summer study committees, which were announced a few weeks back and will start work pretty soon, they included a study of what do we do to prepare for whatever might change at the federal level on health care. They know something's coming. They don't know what it is, but it's a bipartisan effort. It was proposed by Democrats, but Republican leadership went along saying, yeah, we need to look at this. We need to have a plan in place for what we do. You know, HIP will survive in some form. Does that mean that fewer people are eligible for it, fewer people are allowed into the program? That's probably where you go if there's suddenly less funding to deal with. You know, this has always been set up as a pay-as-you-go program. It's not an entitlement at the state level. It's okay, we have money for 5,000 people on HIP, then the 5,000th first person in line, you're out of luck. So if they have to move the line back, that's probably the first place they look.
Adam, final word?
That'll be curtailing Medicare, or medical coverage for Hoosiers, which is exactly what the Republicans are trying to do.
Keep an eye out. Many more developments expected in the next week. Thank you both for joining us. And coming up, we could soon learn which high schools IPS is eyeing for closure, and the dispute over roundabouts now ending up in court.
Any Indianapolis Public Library location.
IPS is expected to announce which schools it wants to close this upcoming week. The recommendations should be coming at the June 29th school board meeting. As RTV6 first reported, IPS is looking to close as many as 3 high schools. The move is aimed at saving money and using school space more efficiently. That meeting is set for 6 o'clock at the Ed Center. A months-long battle between Indianapolis and Carmel will head to court. At issue is Carmel's proposal to build several roundabouts along 96th Street. Indianapolis is suing the city of Carmel over those plans. City County Councilor Christine Scales has been outspoken against the project. She says it will negatively impact several Indianapolis businesses. The lawsuit asks for a halt to the project until the two cities can come to terms. One woman who drives 96th Street daily likes the idea of more roundabouts. She says she wouldn't mind seeing fewer traffic lights.
I think it will be a lot better, a lot easier to get around because the stoplights are really long and it makes it harder for everyone to get around.
Officials in Carmel are responding to the lawsuit. They say it seems driven by the City County Council based on arguments made by one of its council members representing that area. The city adds Mayor Brainerd and Mayor Hogshead have a good relationship and are working toward a solution. It's a problem you can probably relate to. Solicitors trying to sell you stuff even if you have a sign on your door telling them they are not welcome. It's happening in a number of neighborhoods, including Steeplechase West in Indianapolis. One man with a no solicitation sign on his door says it's routinely ignored.
You shouldn't be ringing people's doorbells with a no solicitation sign.
And the reaction is?
They argue with you. They said, well, they have a badge or something, and they keep trying to talk to you.
But they don't get anywhere with you with that?
No.
The rules on soliciting vary by city. In Indianapolis, police tell us solicitors must have a permit on file at the city-county building, but even if they do, they can face arrest for trespassing if you ask them to leave your property and they don't. The state has launched a new website that makes it easier for searching data on births and deaths. The state's health commissioner, Jerome Adams, says the site could help reduce the state's infant mortality rate. County and state level information for the years 2011 through 2015 will be available on the site. It includes data on live birth counts, fertility rates, birth outcomes, and causes of death. The first head coach of the Indianapolis Colts has died. Frank Kush was 88. Kush died peacefully in Arizona this week. He coached the Baltimore Colts from 1982 to 1983. He was the first head coach for the team after they moved to Indianapolis in 1984. Kush started his coaching career at Arizona State University, where he spent more than 2 decades. A teen from central Indiana says she wants to cure kidney cancer. Fisher's high school senior Kunsha Ahmed is the recipient of the Emperor's Science Award. She was selected based on an essay she wrote. The program is designed to encourage high school students to explore careers in science with a focus on cancer research. She will spend her summer at IU Health's Simon Cancer Center. A mentorship will allow her to learn directly from oncologists and researchers. Ahmed says she's driven by medicine after volunteering at the VA hospital for 4 years.
Through that, I heard about so many cancer stories, so many cancer patients, and how their lives just weren't the same. And so that's also part of what drove me to write this essay and try to see what impact I could have.
She works in a lab 3 days a week to get real experience. The Emperor Award provides funding to help her with her research. It's coming soon to a theater near you. It's a new movie called Columbus. Much of it was filmed in the Indiana city with the same name. The trailer has just been released, and the movie is getting some positive reviews.
Saw you at the hospital.
Are you from here?
Yeah.
You like it here?
I'm really interested in architecture.
I hear this town is quite the mecca.
There are familiar faces, and if you've ever been to Columbus, familiar places too. The movie was filmed last year in the city, world famous for its architecture. John Cho leads the cast of the independent film. His character visits his dying father in Columbus, and there are family and romantic complications. The mayor says the city plans to take advantage of the extra attention from the movie, shot at iconic locations like the Irwin Miller home, the North Christian Church, and Cummins headquarters. We're still in LGBT Pride Month, the perfect time for this milestone in Indy Pride leadership. After years of searching, the organization announces its first executive director, Christopher Handberg. With his background in education, community outreach, and nonprofit organization, he has promised to better connect Indy Pride and the community.
Enchilada melt, unique flavor from a better Subway.
How you doing, meteorologist Ashley Brown? Temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s today. It feels great by 1 p.m. Now, as we get into the afternoon, we warm a bit more, a bit breezy as well. Winds gusting at 20 to 25 miles per hour, but we're dry. Overall high temperature for today at 71. Just a super Sunday. Get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather. This evening, a great evening for the Marion County Fair. If you're going, temperatures will fall from the 70s down into the 60s. I think it gets a little cool after around 9 p.m. tonight as those temperatures begin to fall down into the 50s. You may need a light jacket if you have plans late tonight or even early tomorrow morning. Our overnight lows and the low 50s, not out of the question that some locations will actually see temperatures in the upper 40s tonight. Tomorrow will start out cool, but will also bring a chance of rain to the forecast. Increasing cloud cover by tomorrow afternoon. Most of the day is dry. Here we go. After 4 or 5 p.m., those scattered showers slide in, bringing some heavier downpours, so rain returns to the forecast tomorrow.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Beth Vaughn. It's time for the 6. Let's take a look at 6 things happening here in Indy this week. What qualities make a great leader? This week at the historic Benjamin Harrison home in downtown, youth leaders can attend a leadership camp to focus on those qualities. They'll look back at presidents of the past who helped shape our present. Time to tickle the ivories. This week, starting on Tuesday, an international piano competition comes to Carmel. You can stop by the Palladium to watch concerts by more than 100 contestants from across the globe. You can do more than shop at the Greenwood Park Mall on Thursday nights this summer. If you haven't stopped by their Ray Skillman Summer Concert Series, now's the time to grab the family and go to the fountain outside the mall. The weekly concerts feature music, food, and wine. Gearing up for the 4th, on Friday you can enjoy the sights and sounds of the Star-Spangled Symphony at the White River State Park. The concert starts at 8 o'clock, rain or shine. Gotta catch 'em all. Come on down to Lucas Oil Stadium and the Convention Center this Friday through Sunday for the Pokemon North American International Championships. Gamers from across the globe are expected to be in attendance, and the welcome is invited to attend as well. And on Saturday, you can enjoy a taste of Indy. Step on out to Monument Circle from 11 a.m. until 9 p.m. to listen to live music and sample local cuisine. It's $8 to attend. Kids 6 and under can attend for free, as well as military personnel. So that's what's on top for this week in Indy. Back to you.
Even as all the speculation around Paul George's future has been swirling, the Indiana Pacers focused on the future in this week's NBA draft. With the 18th pick, the Pacers took TJ Leaf from UCLA. Leaf does have ties to Indiana. Both of his parents are from here. The Pacers also added Leaf's UCLA teammate Ike Anabogu in the second round. They were also able to acquire Xavier's Edmund Sumner in a trade with the New Orleans Pelicans. Hundreds of Corvettes will be revving up at the Speedway. It is the final day of the annual Bloomington Gold Corvette Show. This is the nation's largest and longest running Corvette event. More than 1,000 cars will be here. It runs until 6 o'clock. Admission is $25 at the gate. It is one of the lasting images of last month's Indy 500, Scott Dixon's frightening crash that took him airborne. One very young racing fan was really worried about him, so much so that she wrote him a get well letter. This week, the two finally met each other. Second grader Lucy wrote a letter to IndyCar after the 500, thanking the organization for keeping Scott safe. Dixon made good on a promise to meet that young lady, surprising her on Wednesday. And what a reaction. Dixon walked away from that wild wreck. Lucy's mom talked about watching the RTV6 race replay that Sunday night.
It's very nice. So we're all together. We saw the crash, and just a visceral gut reaction. She just started crying because that was quite the crash. She went into her room, kind of calmed down a little bit. We thought, came back out, had the letter on Monday morning and said, can we send this to IndyCar? To go, to that level and obviously, write a letter, ask Cal to send that to IndyCar, shows a lot of determination and thoughtfulness, on her behalf. So it's, I think that's what makes it so touching. It's not like it's just a brief encounter. It's something that she felt very strongly about.
No doubt a meeting that young lady will not soon forget. So coming up in this next week, we will know more about the Senate health care plan, the status, also the CBO score. For now, thank you so much for joining us for Indianapolis This Week. For our entire production team, have a great Sunday and week ahead.